Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Mukesh English, and this is your favorite YouTuber Mukesh Soni. Friends, in this video we are going to summarize the famous novella titled Carvalho by Poornachandratejaswi, and let me tell you, I have already done the complete explanation of the whole novella chapter wise. So though that particular video was quite long, so I thought let's summarize it, let's precise it in a very simple and very short manner with the help of some pictorial presentation. So I'm trying my best to make it more simple, and you can also watch my previous video, which have the explanation chapter wise. But here we will try to understand the sequence of events of the Carvalho novella with the help of the key points. So to begin with, very first, let's try to understand that how many characters this novella consists. So obviously the name itself signifies that who is Carvalho. Carvalho is a great botanist, an entomologist, a nature scientist. Then we have here Mandana and Lakshmana. Mandana and Lakshmana, they are the workers in the bee shop keeper society. They work in the beekeeper, they are the beekeepers, or they work at the bee cooperative society. Then Ramaya is the father-in-law of Mandana, as well as father of Ramaya's daughter, as well as Mandana's wife. Prabhakara is a radio mechanic in Chikmagalur, as well as he's also a photographer who works for who works at Carvalho's office, and he's the only one person who takes all the pictures, print out, etc. Then Cyril Gonzalez, the famous lawyer. Yankata, a snake catcher who catches the snake. Kariappa Biryani, who is cook as well as a very proficient tree climber. Then another character, Pyara. Pyara is a Muslim boy who works as a kitchen assistant in the narrator's house. Then we have dog here, Kiwi, a white spaniel. Kiwi, who is a dog here. So these are the these are all the characters which are going to play a vital role in this novella Carvalho. So now let's begin it. I have the notes also. So with the help of the notes, I will keep on explaining. So to begin with, I would say here, this novella opens. So this novella begins in the bee cooperative society. The narrator, he goes to buy 7 bottles of honey for his father at Mudigere Bee Cooperative Society. And at this cooperative society, he meets 2 beekeepers, and these 2 beekeepers are Mandana and Lakshmana. And here, Mandana, he tries to differentiate the difference between bottled honey and machine extracted honey. So finally, after having a lot of discussion, and the narrator purchased a pot of honey from Gutti area, the pot of honey which belongs to Gutti area, for rupees 78. The narrator has brought only 70 rupees, so he pays 70 rupees and he says that 8 rupees I'll pay you later. So this is how he purchased a pot of honey instead of 7 bottles of honey. Then afterwards, we find here in the course of the story later, we find Mandana came to see the narrator, Mandana came to meet the narrator, and he requested him to write an application to appoint he requested him to write an application for himself because he's going to apply for a job at the bee cooperative society. And he says that a minister is going to come on 15th August. A minister is going to visit the Modigere Taluk, and that time he would submit this application. So that he requests the narrator to write an application on his behalf or for him. Then afterwards, Mandana asked him that Mandana asked him that why have you come so far? He says that his boss or his boss, his guru, Carvalho, who was an officer at the Paddy Research Center, he had gone to Bombay to see his daughter, who was not keeping well. And also Mandana says that why he would like this job. Mandana also gives a clue here because he wants to get married with Norway Ramaya's daughter Rami. That's the reason that he wants to get the job, and that's the reason that he requests the narrator to write an application on his behalf. Now, now, now Mandana was unable to submit this application to the minister in person on 15th August in Mudigere because when Mandana and his team they as a scout group, they were blowing they're blowing the bugles, beating the drums, crushing the cymbals. So what happens because of that noise? All the windows of the taluk office shook due to this terrible sound, and because of this terrible sound or this murderous commotion, it all disturbed the humble bees at the hives at the taluk office. And these bees got angry, they started to buzz, and they started to fly here and there, and everybody got attacked by those bees, and the whole program was disturbed. People started to run here and there, even the minister also. And henceforth, Mandana was unable to submit his application to the minister. And this is how the bees attack scene is very important. Now now, the narrator who has heard a lot about Carvalho from Mandana, so finally the narrator came to meet Carvalho for the first time, and the narrator went to Carvalho's laboratory, and here he spoke about his paddy crop, which was getting damaged due to the problem of pest. So Professor Carvalho listened to me very keenly, and he told him that when he comes next time, he should bring some samples. Carvalho also suggested the narrator to drain away the water from the fields, so that because he says that maybe these paste live to the stem under the water, so that's the reason that even the insecticides also not working properly. And he says that there must be some army worms. So Carvalho's prediction was absolutely right, and the narrator did the same. He applied the same theory. He drained the water, and there the he found a lot of worms over there. And once the particular place was dried, what happened? The birds and the frogs, they started to make a feast of those all these worms. But in spite of this, he could not save his crop. But when he went back to Carvalho, he said that yes, I applied your theory, and Carvalho was very happy that at least somebody had listened to him. And Carvalho also told about Mandana. He told the narrator that Mandana was his disciple, and he could not go. He was also Carvalho told that he was also invited as the presider for the function, 15th August function, and narrator said that far better you didn't go. That time, narrator had come to know that Mandana is the Shishya, Mandana is the disciple of Carvalho, and still he does not believe that how come Mandana has become the disciple of Carvalho. Then, what happens here? As we have seen that the narrator's crops are not giving him good profit, so the narrator decided to sell his land, so that he could pay all the loans. Second reason was here there was complete silence in Malnad. People were going away from the town. That was one of the another reason for selling the land. So he thought that he had no alternative but to sell the land away and get out the place once and for all and come out of this debt. So then he continued his discussion with the real estate agent. Now, now the most important scene begins here. What happens further? What happens further? Now we have one more character here, Kiwi. So here in this novella, the non-human beings also play a very important role. That is the narrator's dog, Kiwi, and Kiwi is an extraordinary dog here. So when the narrator was discussing the possible sale of his land to the buyer, Pyara, who is Pyara here? Pyara is a Muslim boy who is working as a kitchen assistant in the narrator's house. Suddenly, Pyara came. Pyara told that Kiwi was absconding. Kiwi had run away. Afterwards, narrator stopped his discussion with the real estate agent, and Pyara and the narrator, both of them, they went inside the forest in search of Kiwi, and finally they found that Kiwi was barking at an earthen pot which was full of bees. They found Kiwi nearby the earthen pot, and the pot was full of bees here. So this is going to help us in the next course of the story. Now here the narrator went to Carvalho, and he met Carvalho in his laboratory, and there narrator told Carvalho that he had seen an oven pot which is full of bees, and that was discovered by his dog Kiwi. Then Carvalho took narrator nearby in his laboratory, and he, through his all the apparatus or the instruments, he had shown him some glowworm. He said that come and see this glowworm here, and this glowworm was discovered by Mandana, he said. And he also told that that glowworm feeds on a conch shell worms. He mentioned that there are two lights in its tail. So Carvalho said that Mandana had kept some bees which were constantly plagued by these worms. The narrator was surprised to hear that there are insects. There were insects which can also bother the bees also. So according to Carvalho, Mandana has studied the habits of these worms. Then Carvalho touched the worm with a stick, and immediately there was a light in its tail. And Carvalho told the narrator that next time he will explain that how those lamps glow and emit light without any heat. So that was the second visit of narrator in Carvalho's laboratory, where he has seen the glowworm, where the glowworm's tail has the light. Now let's go back to that oven pot which was seen by Kiwi, and now Carvalho is interested to see that oven pot, and he goes along with Pyara narrator to see that oven pot which is filled with all the bees. And moreover, such pots were used to make some illegal liquor, distillation of liquor, alcohol, desi daru, in simple words. So Pyara, Kiwi, narrator, Carvalho, they all went to the place, and they reached near that pot, and narrator was standing far away from the pot. Even slowly Mandana had lifted it. The moment he shook, the bees started to make the hissing noise, and they started to fly here and there, and they started to bite everybody, and they had to run away from that place. But the bees were orange colored, and they had the sheets of like the beaten gold. They were shining at the bottom, and Mandana had put the pot back in its place, that the honey should be collected first and one honeycomb should be left out. He said that first we will collect the honey and we'll leave one honeycomb here only, so that the bees will come back and they will start breeding. So and afterwards he'll bring a bee box. So that was the method of the pot breeding. That was the method of the pot breeding. And Carvalho also says that this ancient method of pot breeding should be popularized. He says that it should bring to everyone's notice. So now, so one day what happens, there were so many bees in the lumber room of the narrator, where all the firewoods were kept. And it was what happened here, why there were so many bees here. The Pyara had thrown a broken water jug over there face down. So the bees started to orbit around this jug. Then there were so many bees started to move around the jug, and it was very difficult for Pyara and narrator's wife to get the firewood for the food. They have to prepare the food. They have to cook the food, so they require the firewood. Now, unfortunately, this is the time where narrator needs Mandana, because narrator needs Mandana because the Mandana has the particular skill to remove those kind of bees, and as well as it was also told by Mandana that he'll be bringing the bee box, right? So he asked, narrator inquired from Norway Ramaya that where is Mandana. He also denied. He said that no, I'm not interested in Mandana because he's behind my daughter. He wants to marry my daughter. Ramaya says that I don't want to give my daughter because he's unemployed. He doesn't work. So somehow what happened, narrator decided to carry the jug from that particular place and live in the forest. So late in night, Pyara and the narrator, they took this jug and they just left beyond the border of the farmland. But still in the morning, the bees had come back, and to collect the honey, but they didn't find the jug and they started to create a mess. Even they tried to restore into its original place. Even it did not solve the purpose, the particular problem. So bees started to fight with them and they wrestled and fell down dead. So many bees fell down, and narrator cursed Mandana that at least Mandana you would have appeared and I would have got this problem as a solved one. So why what happened? So he brought the jug, he kept it at the same place, and when the new bees they saw the old bees, they started to fight with each other, and finally automatically the bees got disappeared. Now, as we know very well that Mandana wants job. Why does he want job? Because he wants to get married with Norway Ramaya's daughter. So one day the narrator saw Mandana unexpectedly and told that there was a need for him for the bees. Mandana said that yes, I want to get married Norway Ramaya's daughter, and for that even he said that I asked Carvalho for the post of attender in his office, and his master Carvalho denied. So he was very much angry with Carvalho. Then with Carvalho, and Mandana also told that Carvalho was helping his own casteman for this post, and he was not giving this post to him. So finally, narrator told that don't worry, he will speak to Carvalho about this issue and he will try to resolve the issue. So this is how Mandana has expressed his desire to get married with Ramaya's daughter, Rami. Now here, one day the narrator was watering the paddy fields. A stranger came. His name was Prabhakara, and Prabhakara was a radio mechanic in Chikmagalur, and right now he's a student. He was student of Carvalho in his office. So Prabhakar has one small studio in Carvalho's research center where he helps. He just takes out all the printouts of the important photographs which are given by Carvalho. So Carvalho, narrator and Pravakara, they started to have a discussion about solving how to solve Mandana's problem and how to meet Norway Ramaya and how to get his personal problem solved, how to please or how to convince Ramaya so that he could give his daughter to Mandana. So finally, what's going to happen now? So with the help of Carvalho has convinced Norway Ramaya about Mandana and his daughter's marriage. Carvalho told Norway Ramaya, look, if Mandana gets married, definitely he will behave more responsibly and he will get the job. So somehow Carvalho convinces Ramaya to give his daughter to Mandana, and finally all the preparation is being done. And here Lakshmana plays very important role. He plays the role of Mandana's father here. He also collects money. Right here, Prabhakar plays very important role. He becomes a photographer. He captures all the important rituals, all the important scenes of Mandana's marriage here. So the narrator and Carvalho are pleased to see that Mandana's life is now settled and Mandana is now married with Norway Ramaya's daughter, Rami. So now what happens here? So after 3 days of the marriage, Mandana has come to narrator's place with the 7 bee boxes. He has brought 7 bee boxes and he charged about 6 or 7 rupees per box, around 46 rupees. So what happened? Mandana had put the put the pot bees into a bee box, and he had kept the other boxes in a cool, shady place, saying that bees would come in on their own and they will build their hives in them. Pyara had kept some 2 or 3 boxes in the place chosen by himself and had made a bet with Mandana that first his boxes will be filled with the bees. So in the afternoon, when narrator went with Pyara, Kiwi, and his little daughter, so narrator did not find even a single bee nearby that particular box. Then afterwards, narrator shouted at Pyara that why he left open the lid of the box. Why he had left open the lid of the box. That's the reason that the box could not get the bees. Now, in between, when he was returning, they found that Kiwi was making some strange, painful sound and he ran home as if possessed. The narrator recalled that the previous morning there was a foul smell in the house, and the smell was coming from the under the cot where Kiwi had hidden a piece of bone with a rotten flesh which was sticking to it. And that bone looked like a cow or any ox or any no mortal even could bear the smell. So Kiwi had started to chew that at leisure, and because of that particular bone, what happened? Kiwi had got some infection. So narrator thought next day, he will take Kiwi to the Mudigere hospital, and then he went to hospital and he got some medicines. Now, in between, when he was getting some medicine, he got a news here when he got a news here that Lakshmana came and he told that police had arrested Mandana. Lakshmana came, police had arrested Mandana for keeping the illicit liquor in his house because they had a raid, they have raided Norway Ramaya's house, and at that time Mandana was also staying there and during his honeymoon, and they found there was some pot of illicit liquor. And what happened? Illicit liquor. And when police asked Mandana, whose pot are these? Mandana said that it was his. And finally, the police had arrested Mandana for keeping the pot which contains country liquor. So now, what happens? Narrator and Lakshmana, they went to police station. They tried to convince police, and finally, what was decided that some person should have to stand as surety for Mandana, and who can give a surety? Either a gazetted officer or a property holder. So gazetted officer was Carvalho, who was not present. Property holder, obviously, the narrator. So narrator finally has stood as surety for Mandana, and in between what he does, he also brings medicine for Kiwi, and finally the narrator give surety for Mandana. If he does not give surety for Mandana, what will happen? He'll be shifted to Chikmagalur jail for trafficking in illicit liquor and fine for 500 rupees and imprisonment for 1 year. So narrator had no choice. He had given a surety for Mandana, and Mandana had got bail for time being. And here, Kiwi also started to get recover. So now Mandana is out. Mandana has got a bail. Now what happened after a few days? After a few days, one constable knocked the door of the narrator's house and he was asking the whereabouts of Mandana, because in the bail document, narrator has given his address and there was a court summon for Mandana. Mandana should appear before the court. If Mandana does before the court, when? The very next Monday. If Mandana does not appear to the court the next Monday, what's going to happen? The narrator had to go. So now see the fate of the narrator. Same that time narrator has got an opportunity to sell his land, and there was the Chettiar from Madras. He wanted to buy narrator's property, and for this, narrator should go to Bangalore to meet the Chettiar. And second time he has got an opportunity, but unfortunately here he's losing that opportunity because he had to find out where is Mandana. If he does not find Mandana, he has to go before the court. So now on his way back, narrator met Carvalho and he described Carvalho that, look, this is what has happened to Mandana. Mandana was beaten up by the police and he was caught by the police keeping the illicit liquor in the honey pot, and he also accepted that the honey pot belonged to him. Then Carvalho told that at any cost we have to release him from the jail or from this case, and what happened here? Carvalho instructs the narrator to meet a lawyer, Cyril Gonzalez, and to meet him and to inform over this case. And finally, what happens? Cyril Gonzalez, he takes the case. So Mandana told the narrator that he had kept some half a pot of honey, but it had gone sour, and he wanted to throw it away. But Mandana's brother-in-law laughed at him, and they told that they can make excellent country liquor, and he must have compiled it. So that was the truth told by Mandana to the narrator, and the police had filed a case, and the court had issued the summons. If the case stands, he would be fined rupees 600 and a jail for 1 year. That was told by the narrator. So now the court case begins here, and to release Mandana, Carvalho had appointed a criminal lawyer, Cyril Gonzalez, to fight the case of Mandana. So here, the whole case was explained, and narrator, Carvalho, and others, they attended the magistrate court. In the court, the public prosecutor argued that whatever the pot content was definitely a base material for the manufacture of liquor. Even Gonzalez appeared to be in a very tight spot over there. Afterwards, Gonzalez asked the public prosecutor if he would agree that what was originally in the pot was honey. He said, yes, it could be. So that was very much enough point for Gonzalez to prove his point. Gonzalez argued that the cost of a bottle of liquor was 60 paisa, whereas the cost of a bottle of honey was just rupees 10, and no sensible man would want to lose 10 rupees on every bottle of liquor he made. So look at the remark here. He said very simple common sense thing. He said, my lord, a bottle of liquor costs 60 paisa, whereas a bottle of honey costs 10 rupees. Then in such case, who will do the business of this liquor? Obviously, person should do the business of bottle of honey or the honey. So in this manner, lawyer Gonzalez intelligently, he won the case in the favor of Mandana, and Mandana has come out of the particular case. Now, what's going to happen here? Before 2 weeks, Carvalho visited Norway along with Mandana, and he wanted to see the two things. One is a glowworm, which he had already shown to the narrator. Second, he wanted to see the flying lizard. Mandana had told Carvalho that he had seen the flying lizard around Norway. And look at here. Remember, it was only the very first person who had seen the flying lizard in the Norway jungle, and that was reported to Carvalho. And based on Mandana's description, Carvalho has drawn a picture of the flying lizard, and then Carvalho appreciates Mandana, saying that Mandana is a born naturalist. He's a better in the art of observation. Nothing he has observed so far has even gone wrong. He's an extraordinary natural scientist, so that's why he got appreciation. Finally, even the narrator also could realize that time, yes, he's not only simply a we can say a supplier of pork. He's not a simple supplier of pork. He's also a good observer. Then Carvalho describes the features of flying lizard as per the pictures drawn, and it's only Mandana who had seen the flying lizard. Then he speaks about the remainings of the flying lizard, which are already in the museum, and he speaks about his correspondence with Professor Jankowski and the other American friends. So now Carvalho also talks about the geological ages, evolution, flood, snow age, etc. So his thoughts were beyond time and space. So now the narrator has understood why Carvalho showed so much concern for Mandana. Why didn't he want him to be imprisoned? That's the reason that he wanted Mandana to come back and to start his expedition, to begin his life's important adventure, that is called here the expedition of finding the flying lizard. And now what's going to happen here? Funding is required. To begin this expedition, what happens? The Smithsonian Institute, the Geological Society, the British Geological Unit had come forward for the monetary help. That was about 70,000 pounds sterling. That was a monetary help Carvalho was about to get to start this mission. What's the mission here? To find the flying lizard in the Norway jungle. And now we know very well, to go to jungle, it's not an easy. You have to start with some planning. So you have to start the preparation. So preparation for the expedition begins here. Carvalho started to collect the map of Norway, which starts from Norway jungle, which starts from Shiradi Ghat to Charmadi Ghat. Mandana has also got a person named Biryani Karyappa, whose job was to prepare biryani. Moreover, he was also a proficient tree climber. So with the help of the maps, graphs, Carvalho was thinking to start the trek from one end of the Shiradi Ghat and reaching Chikmagalur forest and the Bangalore-Mangalore highway. He was very much sure that they could spot the flying lizards somewhere between these 2 points. Prabhakar, the photographer, he had also brought the electrical flash, telecamera, 16 mm movie camera, and the many sets of the lenses. Karyappa has brought a sword, double-barreled gun. So they all decided to reach very first at the Darbar Pet by bus. Then they will walk the distance to Norway. Here, Mandana has borrowed a bullock cart from a very petty shopkeeper, which could be used to transport all the luggage because they have to walk into the marshy forest. So this is how the preparation has begun. Now the expedition begins. The very next morning, they yoked the bullocks and they started the journey. And Karyappa is driving the bullock cart. Mandana, narrator, Carvalho, they're all walking beside the bullock cart and they are they have started the journey and they already moved quite far into the forest. Kiwi, even along with them, Kiwi is also here. Kiwi also walked under the cart. Suddenly, what happened? Kiwi jumped from the cart and Kiwi started to chase a wild sheep. And Mandana started to encourage Kiwi. Narrator got angry. And narrator was afraid that if Kiwi got lost in the jungle, even narrator told that he will stop this expedition if Kiwi is not found. So everybody started to wait for Kiwi. Finally, they located the Kiwi and they found that there was a thorn which got pierced into Kiwi's ear and the blood was trickling down. Kiwi was screaming in pain and the thorn was removed. After moving some distance, they found they were lost in the jungle and around them there were only palm trees, nothing miles after mile. There were great palm trees. They could not see that where to move. Finally, Carvalho told Prabhakar, now you have to set your instruments, the chronometer and the compass. Prabhakar had set the chronometer and compass and they started to follow all these according to these instruments, and finally they have started to move into the correct direction. So the cart moved mile after mile and the palm tree fields looked endless. It was sunny. There was not even any shady spot nearby. They stopped at a cool place. They drank water to quench the intolerable thirst. The narrator had slept for a long time. When he woke up, he saw the palm fields had ended and they were near the dense jungle. Mountain ranges like large blue walls, which were very, very large, very tall mountains towered over them. The narrator tried to look through the binoculars. Then finally what happened? They camped that night they stayed over there. They settled the camps. The bullocks were unyoked and Karyappa also cooked the meal. Then they sat around the fire. They listened to Carvalho's experience in strange far off lands. Slowly, one by one, they all fell asleep. Now, the first day in the forest. So what happens in the first day? The next morning, they yoke the bullocks and they begin the journey. The moment they entered the forest, Carvalho's soul soared. Carvalho was very happy, and because he could see many orchards, ferns, wildflowers, creepers, moss. So it was very mesmerizing scene for him to see the nature. And at the beginning of the forest, they saw so many lizards, chameleons, skunks. The narrator witnessed a big, brightly colored chameleon sitting on a small branch and swinging itself. The trees were tall, stood erect like huge walking sticks. Their trunks were covered with green moss, and some of which hanging till the roots of the trees also. So this is how Prabhakar, even Prabhakar was told that, look, Prabhakar, you have to capture all the pictures. Mandana also showed a varieties of mushroom. Then Carvalho pointed at a dry and thorny plant. Thorny plant. He picked up a twig and touched the plant with it. The thorny plant became an insect, grew hands and legs, and walked off to another tree. He showed us earthworms going up all the tall trees, and the ferns which grew on the trees collected the dust from the winds and grew in a special kind of soil, and these worms were going to live there. So these are the, and further what happened, they wanted to return before it gets too dark, and they started to hurrying to the camp. On the way, they saw a small pond. The water was as clear as crystal, and then the rays of the western sun started to play its motionless bosom. Suddenly, from the water, a ball of fire sprang up from the depth and flew. It was a kingfisher, flapping its wings. It stood in a space, then again it went into the water. Prabhakar could not capture the image of kingfisher that time. Now Cariappa. Now suddenly Carvalho heard a shooting, gun shout, a shooting. And Carvalho shouted, and finally he found that Cariappa has missed his target. Cariappa was about to shoot the hornbill. Then Carvalho explained that he should not kill the hornbill. The reason behind it, and that also shows that he was a nature lover. So that was the first day in the jungle. Now we are moving to the second day in the jungle. Still, the day after they went into the forest, and nothing much happened. They found no clue whatever to the flying lizard. Carvalho said that lizards and generally such kind of birds, they generally they come to the generally all the animals or the creatures, they come nearby any kind of pond to drink water, and here they have not seen any lizard. That means to say, he said that the flying lizard quenched the thirst by licking up the dew. That's the reason that there's no meaning to stay near this kind of pond or the water pool. So now here there were the next morning, two important characters joined. They were Yankata and his wife. Yankata, he's an excellent snake catcher, and he came to collect the skins of mongoose, snake, and the other creature. And he didn't have much money for creating this one in snake catching. So what happened? He used to collect the otter skin also. Moreover, he has come here to find his cow. So he was told that to join for meal. He said that he will meet the next day. So when this meal was prepared, the food was getting prepared. Narrator and Carvalho, they did a lot of discussion about the existence of God and how does the flying lizard appeared. And they also argued that a flying lizard is a representation of a form of life which existed many years ago, many millions of years ago. So during the long period of evolution, everything underwent a change, and it is only, for example, underwent a change. He said that a lot of things got changed during the period of life or the evolution of life. So then Carvalho spoke about the evolution theory of gorilla and chimpanzees. So this is how we know that Carvalho has a lot of knowledge about the evolution of life. Then now we are coming to the third morning in the forest, and Yankata we know very well. Yankata is so famous in his skills of catching the snake. So when they woke up the next morning, there was a thick mist. After some time, Yankata came with a snake in his hand. Carvalho was amazed to see the snake being skinned alive and witness Yankata's skill. And after crossing the rough path, they reached a small pond. There they unyoked the bullocks. Prabhakara started listening some Hindi songs over his transistor radio. So now the real scene begins here. Narrator was seated down, so everybody went out. They went out, and narrator was seated down. Nobody was there. He was seated down. Suddenly, the narrator heard a continuous tap, tap, drip, drip sound, something like a raindrops falling on the dry leaves. And then he saw very keenly. He found ants were falling on the dry leaves. He looked up and he saw that on a branch of a tree there was a big ant hill. But on the other branch of the tree also there was a big ant hill, but there was no movement on the other branch of the tree. On a particular branch of the tree, some ants were falling down one by one, and he also observed there was some movement in that ants group, and he found the ants started to run like a stream. Later, the bees got increased in number, and the creature was keeping on eating those bees. So when the creature could not tolerate the strength of those bees, what happened here? I'm sorry, not the bees, the ants. When the creature could not tolerate the strength of these ants, the creature started to jump and started to float in the air, and started to jump from one tree to some other tree. And finally, what happened? It is only the narrator who has seen the flying lizard among all the people. Nobody was there. It was narrator who has seen the creature who was in the hill of those ants, who was trying to come out, and that particular creature started to jump. That was the flying lizard. The narrator said that the creature was the brown-colored flying lizard. This was a reptile which had evoked in them numberless thoughts and dreams. It was only and only narrator who saw first time flying lizard in the jungle during the expedition. It was a huge tree, and the lizard was looked so small. It was still busy eating the ants that had got stuck to its body. Its wings, which looked like the white blown up foam, became invisible the moment it landed. Its form and features were exactly like the one which Carvalho has drawn. Its color was very much similar to the bark of the tree. It started going up, but the narrator did not remove his eyesight. He was keep on observing. He started to call Mandana, Prabhakar, Carvalho, everybody, and he had fixed his eyes on the lizard. And everybody came there, and he was trying to say that where the lizard is located. They were unable to see. Then Karyappa Mandana also came. Then the narrator mentioned that the flying lizard has entered the ant hill, and it was eating away the ants, and too many of them are coming out or surrounded. Then Carvalho also described the flying lizard, and there's a scaly, saw-like skin over its head and neck. The tail goes up to the back. It has its legs. Its feet has nails. It puts on its tongue, the tongue like human beings. So Carvalho confirmed, yes, narrator was watching the flying lizard. It is the only the narrator who has seen the flying lizard. So Prabhakar was still setting his binoculars, his camera, and he was unable to catch the flying lizard through his camera. And narrator saw a green patch of moss. And narrator is telling, look, everybody observe there, there's a green patch of moss, and there is a flying lizard. They are still unable to see. And Prabhakar is still adjusting his camera. The moment he starts adjusting his camera, what happens? There's a curr sound. So there's a curr sound, and the Prabhakar pressed the button. The moment he pressed the button, the flying lizard crossed the green patch, and it got merged with the color of the bark of the tree. Now nobody is able to see where's the flying lizard, because the flying lizard's color and the bark of the tree's color has become one. Now they all bent down, they massaged their backs of the necks, because it was very much difficult for them to see for a long time. And Mandana was told to be vigilant on a particular rock. Then finally Carvalho said that, I don't know how much we have seen and how much we have missed. But even though they didn't stop to catch the flying lizard. Effort was continuing, effort was going on. Cariappa, Mandana, Carvalho, Prabhakara, they all let down on the ground to keep a better watch over the tree. And what happened? There was a better watch over the tree. And so Mandana and Yankata, they made a big fire under the tree, and the thick dark clouds rose up just like the mountain. Mandana was standing on the top of the hillock nearby. Cariappa shouted. Cariappa said, "Hey, come on! It's flying now." So it was observed by Cariappa and Mandana that the flying lizard had landed on the tree. Cariappa began climbing the tree. Now Cariappa has started to climb the tree. And the next moment, the narrator saw a tiny four-legged creature floating in the air. It whisked past a tree and landed on the trunk of another. Near its ribs, thin white wings appeared and then it got disappeared. It amazed the narrator that it did not fold its wings just like the other birds, or even it did not gather its wings along with its legs just like the bats. So what happened? Mandana, Carvalho, Kiwi, they all rushed towards the tree. And generally what happens, the flying reptiles have two important adverse conditions, because it could not flap its wings and fly, and obviously it has to climb and reach some height before taking to flight. Because of a thick cloud of smoke, it was moving towards the top of the hill where the trees were short and stubby. Yankata and Cariappa were chasing it from tree to tree. Its climbs and speed were getting very much affected. So suddenly it flew past them and landed on the trunk of the another timber tree. So here Cariappa ran. Cariappa started to run and started to climb the tree. It was hardly 2 arm lengths away from him. The flying lizard tried to escape from Cariappa's hands and slipped away a little, and finally Cariappa grabbed the flying lizard by its tail. Everyone got stunned, having seen this, rooted to the ground, and Prabhakar's camera was still making the kurr sound. Cariappa was in confusion because one arm he was holding the tree, another arm he was holding the tail. Yankata was telling, "Please wait, wait, I'm also coming." Yankata was also trying to climb the same tree. Cariappa was frightened that how long will he hold it, and the flying lizard was hissing. Its wings getting disappeared in near its ribs. Cariappa was waiting for Yankata, and Cariappa's palms were sweating. He could not hold it, and he was losing his grip. Only the tip of the tail was in Cariappa's hand. The moment Yankata reached Cariappa, its tail got cut and it climbed very fast to the other tree. And Cariappa also followed. Then afterward they started to run behind it, and the flying lizard landed on a heap of boulders. Boulders mean rock on the top of the hill. Yankata and Cariappa were still on the tree, and the others were down. They were keep on watching. The flying lizard was keep on leaping from one boulder, one rock to another rock, and finally the flying lizard has reached to the top of the rock, top of the boulder. So blindly, these people, they were trying to follow this flying lizard, and finally they found that where they have reached to the edge of the Sahyadri hill. From the other side of the Sahyadri hill, there's a several thousand feet down, and this side there's I mean to say the other side of the rock, there's a few deep dive, several thousand feet down. Then forest and small river can be seen there. Rock was slippery, and the dew and the moss also creating more risk over there. Yankata and Karipa, they started to climb that particular rock, and frightened flying lizard hissed, spread its hood, looked back whether it can come back. Then afterwards it looked forward. Cariappa and Yankata, they moved 2 more arms up. They started to move further. They started to climb further. Again it hissed just like a snake. Then finally what happened? The flying lizard jumped from the edge of the rock, from the edge of the cliff, Just like a miracle, what happened? Just like a miracle, its ribs, thin white wings sprouted. It zoomed into the vague, unending blue space. Since it could not beat its wings and change the course, it fell straight into the water. In a little while, the strange flying lizard vanished, got disappeared into the space. None of them. And finally, we can see here Yankata and Karyappa, they could not catch the flying lizard, but Karyappa was fortunate who could touch the flying lizard's tail. The narrator was fortunate who has seen the flying lizard very first time in the jungle. But in spite of all these things, none of them felt disappointed because a link from the past had flashed past their eyes just like an apocalypse and then vanished. So this is how Poornachandratejaswi's famous novella Carvalho brings out many worlds: the dream world, the world of science, world of mystery, a world of normal, simple human beings. All these are yoked together to the animal world through Kiwi, the narrator's golden spaniel, through the born climber of trees, that is Yankata, Biryani Kariyappa, and the world of vegetation, nature, that has all these things have become the integral part of the story. A very, very famous story, Carvalho. So, friends, this is how I try to make it more simple, summarized it, and for more in detailed chapter-wise explanation, you can go through my video, and that's the link is already in the description box or in the playlist. Thank you so much for watching this video. Be in touch and keep watching Mukesh English. Thanks once again. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.